This is paid for by SRMG Services.
Where do you stand on gun violence legislation?
So I would be the first to admit, I was about 2 or 3 blocks away yesterday afternoon when that incident and received the alert came on my phone, locking it down. This is not a Second Amendment issue.
I agree.
For those who understand and read, right, the Second Amendment is about organized militias, not citizens. Not citizens, organized militias. What is an organized militia? The United States Navy, Army, Marines. That's an organized militia. It's an organized militia that's recognized by the government, right? I'm not talking about, someone that's in rural Georgia and there's 5 or 10 of them and they got their guns. That's not an organized militia, right? Read the Constitution. So let's put that aside, because every time we talk about guns, everybody immediately want to talk about the Second Amendment. I want to put that aside. I want to talk about public safety and public health, right? Raising your right hand to take an oath. Guns is part of that equation. No different than diabetes or cancer, right? What do we need to do as a society to help our society to stay safe and healthy? And so what took place, to your question, the essence of your question, what took place yesterday, immediately everybody started thinking about who did it, where are they, how many are they, who was killed, thoughts and prayers. The same thing we continue to hear over and over again, right? Is this a mental health crisis issue? The question is, why do we have AK-47s, M16s, AR, any kind of assault rifles on the streets? Because the only purpose of an assault rifle is to kill humans. You don't go hunting, right? I've been hunting. You do not use an AR, or AK, or any kind of assault rifle to hunt deer. It will rip that meat apart.
Right, and then you can't
utilize
it anyway.
Exactly. Right. And so we did it before. President Clinton at the time had a 10-year moratorium. And we watch our mass shootings and our gun deaths took a steep decline. But once that moratorium was lifted and it expired, then George Bush did not reenact that executive order, and the sales went through the roof. So we have to take the political courage to say no more, right? This is not a white-black thing. This is not a Democrat-Republican thing. This is a humankind thing. This is, what do we want our society to look like? Because when you look at all the other countries around the globe who made it within their laws, right? You go over to London, you don't hear mass shootings over there. You go to Israel, you don't hear mass shootings over there. Right? And so the United States have to ask the question, who are we when it comes down to guns?
Voting rights.
Can I just comment on I think as somebody that moved here from a different country, one of the biggest hindrances for us moving here was because of the guns. Irrelevant to constitutional, like I'm not a constitutional scholar or anything, but I knew that when me and my wife were making the decision if we were going to move back to the United States or move here, it was, there's a lot of guns on the street. Care about register, like there's just like you don't know who owns a gun, right? And
you can about assume everybody does.
Well, nowadays you do, and that was one of the big decisions. Even why when we came here, we homeschooled our kids, because I was like, I'm not sending our kids to a public school, because obviously the news is, a lot of mass shootings that occurred. Unfortunately, a lot of them happen around schools, and it's always been. I feel like fundamentally in this country, I don't know if we're ever going to fix this issue, because you have one side of the conversation that are so stuck with this idea that if you take their guns away, you're pretty much killing their lives.
Right.
And you have another strand of the conversation that wants to put controls in place to at least make it safer,
Right.
but the gun lobbyists are making it seem like you're trying to take their guns away. And because we can't talk anymore in the middle, Like
But we choose not to. We can't.
I know we can, but what I've seen in the last 5, 6, 7 years in this country is that we're moving more away like this, where events like this happen, and it's like you can take a concordant chord and just start all the talking points start to come out again. Like the one side will say their talking points, the other side will say their talking points, and at the end of the day, the thing that nobody wants to do anymore is the thing that actually lasts: thoughts and prayers. That seems to be the consistent thing that comes out of everybody. Not everyone's getting tired of saying thoughts and prayers, but it's probably the only consistent thing because nobody wants to come down to actually have a conversation anymore. Republicans don't want to, and Democrats, I feel that they want to, but I don't know what's going on. We find ourselves in this, and we will talk here as much as we want to talk. We will get to the legislative session, wherever it's get elected, and it does not stop the fact that somebody can just go out on the streets and do what they're going to do. It's just like for me, when this whole ideology of defunding the police came out, I was scared to hear that. I was like, how can we even think about that when we live in a country that guns are legal and anybody can carry a gun, right? And I'm like, the only person that I'm like, that we feel safe enough to protect us, we're not wanting to remove them. I was like, that's dangerous.
Well, I don't want to shift topics,
Sorry,
but I will say, as a Democrat, that I'm tired of candlelight vigils. I'm tired of going to funerals. But more importantly, as a father and as a husband, right? I want to make sure, because I cannot keep my children in a bubble. My children are of age where they are no longer going to be homeschooled. So you can only put this bubble around your family for so long, right? When there are more guns than there are human beings. There's over 400 million guns in the United States.
There is. Probably more.
400 million compared to 320 million citizens. And right? And those are the ones that you can account for. We ain't even talking about the illegal ones.
So
right?
What are we going to do about it, though? When there's a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican governor that are their position cannot be any clearer. The man pretty much made it legal that you can carry a weapon in this country as freely. Like, they are more extreme on that side. Like, I think this is where I'm tired of the talking points. I
don't think it's at least for me. It's not a talking point.
But it's not for me as well. When my daughter, we got a text message that there was a potential active shooter. Like, this is not a joke.
Let me say this in reference to both of these points. I think that even though you have a Republican control in the state, at the state and whatnot, that doesn't diminish the work that the Democrats can do.
Right.
You understand what
That's
I'm
right.
saying? So we have to come together and say, you know what, this is what we stand for, and we have to push that on our own.
That's right.
And so regardless of what they're passing, this is a long game.
It has to be.
Right?
That's right.
This is a long game.
It has to
At
be.
some point, we're going to be in charge.
That's
we're
right.
going to take control. And we have to think like that.
Mm-hmm.
That, right now, you in charge and you making these hideous laws about certain things. But in about 4 years, we got to start putting things in place so that we can take that seat over. So that now we may be able to come together.
I believe that, and I believe that there must be certain compromises that I believe the Republicans will be willing.
Absolutely.
They can't be. There's no way all of them are that. I cannot believe that all of them are that.
You have the candlelight visuals, going to the funeral, and looking at these things every day, and then on the other hand, and get in front of people and sit there and say that, hey, I'm looking out for you.
Right.
You cannot continue.
That's right.
To do that.
But it's going to be a relationship, isn't it? And how?
So I think it's a level of empathy and compassion, right? Because we just watched a few weeks ago where a Republican governor in Tennessee,
Yes.
right,
Mm-hmm.
says because of his wife's best friend was killed when that school shooting, a private school, right? We always tend to like, is this a public school? No, it was a private school.
School is school.
School is
Right?
school. Kids are kids.
Right? Kids are kids until it's on your doorstep.
Right. Right.
And that governor had to hear from his wife about the loss of her friend, right? And so he came out on camera and said that I'm going to pass some legislation for background checks and red flags and things of that nature. But even
pray for that.
but even still, but until Georgia gets to that point, about a month ago, me and a few others, out of our own dime, flew up to Washington, D.C. See, because the federal government, we have control right now. President Biden is a Democrat. We got 2 United States senators, met with them to urge them to pass a federal law to where Georgia will also have to find itself following the federal law. And so it is a long game. You're exactly right. And so even without the title, going up to Washington, D.C. 3 or 4 weeks ago to talk to our constituency, our leaders up there, to urge them what we need here in Georgia because they represent Georgia. That's what we can do today.
Well, gentlemen, listen, we actually come to an end.
Okay.